Well, thank you so much, Romeo Busiko. Stephen Imbido, Fefeso Chuka now coming to you from Nakasero. I'm speaking to the resident city commissioner for Kampala, Hood Hussein, because we know he's tasked with ensuring the security, law and order in Kampala, as well as trying to make sure that, yes, we fight COVID-19, because this pandemic is still with us, and there are efforts to make sure that we fight it. First of all, I've been speaking to him to understand what are they doing on the ground now, because we've seen that at least the police are going on with implementation of the guideline on ensuring that people obey the curfew time. But from his office and from the entire security circles, what more are they doing to ensure that, yes, we fight this pandemic, but also ensure there is law and order? Good morning to you, Mr. Hood Hussein.
Good morning, my brother. Yes, good morning, viewers. Yes, we are all aware as a country that the entire world is struggling with COVID-19, and the World Health Organization issued guidelines, which Uganda as a Commonwealth country definitely adopted. As a country, we adopted SOPs, the basics of really prevention of COVID-19. It's simply wearing a mask and social distancing, among others. But for us here as a country, there are basically three things. The SOPs, standard operating procedures, the presidential directives, and the vaccination. Those three, if we really emphasize them, we are good to go as a country. But given the compliances of us as a people, basically a few Ugandans, they really want everything to be done only through force. Unless they say police officer around or a security personnel, they will not want to do the obvious. Yet people are still dying. As I talk, I am from Mulago Hospital. And the situation there is not as good as people think. I think Ugandans and general Africans, we have this tendency of wanting to believe by seeing, and if that is the case, I've seen for myself. We have over 50 people bedridden, and people are still dying. The World Health Organization has never come out to declare the world COVID-free. The president relaxed the lockdown, and people have now gone back to normal. They think there is no corona. But it's a challenge, and as a country, especially the people of Kampala.
But when you talk about the people of Kampala, at least we've seen in Kampala at night, the police at least trying to ensure that they arrest people who are disobeying the curfew time, being at home by at least 9 p.m. And this seems to be a selective application of these guidelines, because when you move to tax parks, when you move to arcades and some corporate offices, you see that people are still disobeying these SOPs. But when police goes for those who are disobeying the curfew time, seems to be a selective application of the law.
Well, I don't think it is selective application of the law, because the guidelines are being enforced all through. The only reason why police is putting some emphasis on curfew time is because there are people who want really to go into bars. If you manage to control people to be in their homes from work to home, it is a plus. And during the day, some people definitely want to behave responsibly, and therefore they will try to observe the SOPs, social distancing and wearing a mask. They are doing that downtown, not very much, but at least some level of compliance is detected. For curfew, how are you going to enforce compliance at night if you leave people to scatter? So I want to encourage police to continue doing what they are doing, to ensure that they don't allow people to violate the curfew times. And we want to thank the president for really allowing the border cyclists to go and pick their motorcycles.
But when you talk about these border riders, many have complained, and I think you have seen some saying that when they go to the police to pick their motorcycles, they are being asked for money. Yet the president said, pardon them, that at least for now, they could have learned a lesson that they should go and pick their borders. But now when they go to the police, they are complaining that they are being asked for some bribes. This is an issue that touches on the issue of security and the directive of the president.
Well, I've not heard of any bribery allegations being raised. I'm hearing it for the first time. And it's good you're saying you're hearing, but you've not proved. I believe in proof. If you had proved, maybe I can now swing into action. However, we know there are a few of them who may want to do that. We call upon the public to bring out this information. At least what I know is that most of them are being allowed to take their borders, provided they present a valid card for that motorcycle. Without a valid card, they cannot be allowed to take the motorcycles.
What is your biggest challenge in enforcement of these SOPs that you're seeing in Kampala, Kawempe, Machindye, Lubaga, and as well as the Central, all these divisions, the 5 divisions of Kampala? Where do you see the biggest challenge of ensuring that, yes, we fight COVID-19 and ensure that SOPs are put into place?
Well, it is the complacency within the populace, the complacency, the laxity, the I don't care attitude of some Ugandans. People who want, even if there is a hole there or a pit, you want someone to tell you that you jump. You get it? They move blindly. That mindset is really letting us down as a country, as a continent, because it's Africa all over. So it's very bad that people want to be told to do the obvious. You know that COVID is spread through mixing, and you want to mix freely, and you are waiting for a security officer or a health officer to come and tell you what to do. It's the challenge. People know what to do, but that laxity, that mindset of wanting to see force. And that's why sometimes government gets to the extent of getting the LODUs, the military, police, because some of our people, unless you enforce, they don't understand any other language. You tell them that do this, they are just people who you are sure, even if you gave them time, for example, vaccination. Okay. We know that vaccination is a very sure way of fighting COVID-19. And in Uganda here, we've not lost anybody vaccinated to COVID-19. But some people want you to talk. They want a professor to come and explain the concept of vaccination for them to be vaccinated.
Okay, moving away from COVID-19, there is the other issue of the market order. And many people who are operating within the markets of Kampala, Bugolobi, Nakawa, Wandegeya, Kasubi, and everywhere, like Natete, they are saying that they need new leadership. And the Ministry for Kampala Affairs was tasked, of course, with your office to ensure that there is order. And they are saying that they need to have these fresh elections, but we don't see them happening. What's the problem? What is the problem? And shall we even see these elections being held?
First of all, we all know that there is a presidential directive on markets. And this directive, among other issues, it stipulates that there should be no double taxation. You must be aware that previously a section of market vendors were being exploited through double taxation. We have seen the previous market leadership overcharging the poor people. And the president said, no, this must stop. And he came up with a directive to ensure that we change leadership, asking the then leaders to step aside and we get new leadership so that we rectify the challenges most of these vendors have been facing. And KCCA came up with measures to implement the directive, among which was to institute interim committees, which were supposed to serve for 6 months. And indeed, they were elected in all these markets within Kampala, and the 6 months have expired. So we are waiting for more guidance from KCCA. If KCCA is ready, definitely the new leadership is going to, we are going to have new elections to ensure that we get leadership. Okay. But as of now, we have not got that guideline, the guidance from KCCA. We know the minister is tasked, and we are waiting for the guidance of the minister. Okay. Whatever the minister will guide, we shall sit together as stakeholders, assess, and see how to implement.
Okay. Yes. And very finally, yesterday we saw some members of parliament protesting from the chambers, and they sat just outside the chambers. And now also we saw some councillors from Kawempe trying to protest the continued detention of their members of parliament, the 2 members of parliament. And they are planning, they threatened to also go ahead and stage peaceful demonstrations in Kampala, and especially in these constituencies where they represent. As the head of security, is it something that you're going to let these councillors and the other leaders hold their freedom of expression and assembly when they go ahead and stage these peaceful demonstrations?
Of course, you have rightly said it is freedom of expression and assembly that is protected under Article 29, among other articles of the Constitution. They have a right to associate freely and assemble, provided it is done within the confines of the law. You see, we like quoting the Constitution, but the Constitution says something different, and for you want to quote the same Constitution but doing something different. If you are peacefully assembling, peacefully, it's okay. We have seen demonstrations in the US. People merely come up with placards peacefully, and they do it. But we have seen there's a difference between a demonstration and a strike. You need to look out for the difference. So if they do it within the law, because the same law, the same Constitution says that in the enjoyment of your rights, you should not infringe on the rights of others. So can you enjoy your rights properly without infringing on the rights of others? So therefore, for the honorable MPs who were arrested, let's allow the law to take its course. What does the law say? You can be arrested today, and tomorrow you are granted bail. But as you're coming out, there could be more evidence, and the police has the mandate to have you confined. It does not say that once you get bail, you are free to walk even if there is new evidence. You are free to walk even if you have committed any more offense. That's not what the law says. So therefore, of course, it was an ugly scene, the way it was done, and we believe it can be done better. We know police, sometimes the way it does it, sometimes it's overzealous, but sometimes we sympathize with the police, because assuming it's you, police, and you are asked to arrest me, but as you're coming to arrest me, I take off. What do? You definitely also chase me. But if I find you standing, I will simply, peacefully get you. So what were the MPs doing when they went to rearrest Sewanyan, Honorable, and Segirinya? You saw them sprinting. But you are not asking them, because the law says you must, when police comes, listen to them. What are they saying? Does it have valid reasons? If the reasons are not valid, go to police, make a statement, establish the facts. They merely wanted new, fresh statements. But you were running. So you, the public, some of you, are only looking at police, the honorable police, the way it arrested, but you're not questioning what the suspects were doing. And that is being dishonest. It's really a contradiction. Okay. Yes.
Thank you so much, Hudu Hussein, the RCC for Kampala. Stephen Imbido and Fefso Chivuga now handing you back to Romeo Usiku in the studios.